Yesterday, Ann Sarnoff, the chairman of Warner Brothers Entertainment, appeared to drop a nuclear attack on the Snyderverse, Restore the Snyderverse movement in Variety. And the timing is interesting because the Snyderverse just came out, the Snyder Cut, just came out on HBO Max this past weekend, Thursday. And it was very successful and it got a lot of good reviews. And it was getting a lot of momentum, driving a lot of positive conversation. And for her to basically throw water on the fire the weekend after it debuted did seem to dampen a lot of the excitement and the momentum, which I'm sure she planned on doing. Now, it's already started. A lot of the Snyder fans and Ray Fisher fans and stuff were already, tweeting Restore the Snyderverse. We're going to fight hard to make them change their minds, do the same thing they did to get the Snyder Cut released in the first place. They're going to do the same thing for the Snyderverse, the Air Cut, etc. And, a lot of people are already saying, well, Jason Kilar is going to swoop in and save things. But I don't know. Jason Kilar approved this article Ann Sarnoff did. I'm sure he knew about it and allowed her to basically drop a bomb on the Snyderverse movement. So, I'm not sure if Jason Kilar is the savior. A lot of people are saying that he is. But, I could be proven wrong. But anyways, and she also, Ann Sarnoff, she pretty much scorched earth with Ray Fisher in this article too. Backing up, but we aren't surprised by that, I don't think, either, because Warner Media already released a statement basically saying they were standing by Walter Hamada, one of the people Ray Fisher's accused, and not Ray Fisher. Warner Brothers and Warner Media have released several articles basically, tearing apart Ray Fisher's claims. But anyways, I'm going to go into this article, the questions Ann Sarnoff was asked, and her responses. Portions of it, not the whole thing. The things that I thought are the most key to this topic that we're talking about now. Why did you decide to release Zack Snyder's Justice League? Ann Sarnoff. We wanted to give Zack the opportunity to complete his vision in a 4-hour movie, which is impossible to do in theaters. We're happy that we have HBO Max to let the rope out, as it were, and allow the fans to see all 4 hours of Zack's vision. Very interesting. I was already thinking about this a while ago, but I think her response here gives a little bit of insight into the whole reason that the Snyder Cut ran into problems in the first place, right? I think that, when he was hired to do Justice League or was doing it, they wanted him or expected him to do a 2 hour or 2 hours and change movie for theaters, which is what you would expect from any theatrical movie these days, or less. And he came back to them with something that was 4 hours. And I think that was the start of, Jeff Johns and John Berg and Kevin Tsujihara being like, this is too long, we got to cut it down. And that started the friction, I think. That, and I don't think that Warner Brothers was really too excited with his vision for the DCEU. After the whole BVS fallout and stuff, and the way he was handling the characters. I think, the way he was handling the characters, his vision, his outline for Justice League 2 and 3, they felt this is off-brand for these characters. And also the fact that he turned in a movie that was too long for theaters. I think that was the genesis of, when the studio came in and was like, we got to change stuff. Didn't exactly work out that well for them, but I'm just saying I think this is where a lot of that came from. What are your plans going forward for DC? We've got an incredible group of creators, television series creators, Max series creators, feature film creators, who are basically broadening the base of the talent that we work with on DC because we're so excited about the potential to build out the DC multiverse. It's one of the reasons why I was hired almost 2 years ago. The before and after was it was a very siloed organization with no connectivity between the businesses. DC was being developed, but in a kind of monolithic way in each division. My mantra coming in was to make it bigger and broader, and we really want to surprise and delight the fans with more connective tissue across the various media and platforms. I'm talking movies, HBO Max, television, and our games division. So this comment, even though it seems obvious that she wants to abandon the Snyderverse, I like what she says in here, that she does seem to be wanting to build an alternative that is more coherent with a plan. I hope they have a plan. We want something else going forward. And so I like a lot of this here. Well, it's the start of it. She doesn't exactly say what the roadmap is, but she implies that they do have, I think, a more concrete picture of where things are going. Or at least I hope. I hope they're not still going to be doing that let's throw everything in a wall and see what sticks approach, which is what DC was doing a lot in the past when it comes to their movies. The Snyder Cut came about because of a fan campaign online. Do you feel like you need to strike a balance between being responsive to fans and charting your own course as a company? How responsive do you believe DC should be? We're always going to listen to our fans, but we are in service of the broadest fan base and we owe them an integrated, holistic strategy. We are the shepherds of the franchise, and hopefully when the fans see what we've got in store, they'll know that DC is in good hands across many different platforms with many different creators. We want different voices in the mix. For certain fans that want singular voices, they may be disappointed, but we would ask them to be patient and see what we've got in store, because perhaps the newer voices in the mix will have just as compelling stories to tell. On balance, you of course want to listen to your fans, but we do want to stay true to our vision and our mission for DC and build that out. I think a key part of this response from hers is when she says, no singular vision, we don't want a singular vision. To me, reading between the lines there, it seems like that's code for her saying she doesn't want to focus only on Zack Snyder's singular vision for the DCEU. Now, I could be wrong there, but I do think that she's basically saying, we don't want one singular vision, Zack Snyder's singular vision, to be everything. We want to go in different directions, and we have a lot of different things to go, different, paths to go on, and you'll see. She also says, I hope fans will be patient and wait. So she seems to be saying, we know you want Zack Snyder's singular vision, we're abandoning that, but just wait. Wait and see what we've got planned in store for you. You'll love it. That's what I'm reading into this, what she is saying here. We'll see what happens. We'll see what they are developing. One of the reasons, there's some excitement for like Flashpoint and stuff and Black Adam. But a lot of people would be more excited if they knew what these things were. And it's still too early. We haven't seen anything. Well, Black Adam hasn't filmed yet. We don't really know exactly what we're getting in Flashpoint yet. So, hopefully they'll blow us away with those things. I do think that the Flash movie, which is supposed to be like soft reboot, picking and choosing what they're going to keep for the DC multiverse going forward, will be key to, what the future of DC movies will be like. So we're just going to have to wait and see. There's also been a toxic side to the fandom, with reports that critics and some of your executives have received threats for not endorsing the Snyder Cut or for being perceived as standing in the way of its release. What's your reaction to that behavior? We're not tolerating any of that. That behavior is reprehensible no matter what franchise you're talking about or what business you're talking about. It's completely unacceptable. I'm very disappointed in the fans that have chosen to go to that negative place with regard to DC, with regard to some of our executives. It's just disappointing because we want this to be a safe place to be. We want DC to be a fandom that feels safe and inclusive. We want people to be able to speak up for the things they love. But we don't want it to be a culture of canceling things that any small faction isn't happy with. We are not about that. We are about positivity and celebration. I think the toxicity part is a big reason of what has turned them off to the Snyderverse, to keeping it going. Now, I know not all Snyderverse fans are toxic, right? A lot of them are supportive and positive, but there's a vocal contingent online, tweeting out these fire Walter Hamada hashtags, all this terrible stuff. And I think that's part of the reason why she, and I'm sure it's not just her, a lot of Warner Brothers executives, multiple ones, they want to leave this behind because they feel like they're leaving that toxicity behind. They're tired of dealing with these people. The ones I'm saying who are bad, I'm not saying all of them are bad. But, the more vocal, angrier ones seem to be kind of the face of the Snyder Cut movement, the Snyderverse movement. And, I think, that rubs them the wrong way. They see people online say, fire Toby Emmerich, fire Walter Hamada, fire this person, fire Ann Sarnoff. And they're like, I don't want to deal with these people. I want to leave this fan base behind. And I think that's part of the reason why they want to leave the Snyderverse. They think that a lot of Snyder fans, or most of them, are toxic. They're trying to characterize all of them as bad, and they want to leave them behind. Now, again, like I said, I do not think that is true. But I do think that's a part of what's in their heads here. And, they don't want to have anything more to do with these fans. The campaign for Release the Snyder Cut has moved into a new phase. It's now Restore the Snyderverse. What's your reaction to this new campaign? I appreciate that they love Zack's work, and we are very thankful for his many contributions to DC. We're just so happy that he could bring his cut of the Justice League to life, because that wasn't in the plan until about a year ago. With that comes the completion of his trilogy. We're very happy we've done this, but we're very excited about the plans we have for all the multi-dimensional DC characters that are being developed right now. Yeah, basically, again, she's saying we're pivoting to something different, leaving the Snyderverse behind. Look at what we've got going on now. Something that we haven't really seen that much of yet as fans, so there's not really that much excitement about that yet. But there could be. If these other movies are doing turn out to be good. It's too early. Will there be more of these director's cuts? Will we see David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad? We will not. We won't be developing David Ayer's cut. So yeah, that was another shot fired to the Snyderverse and the Release the Ayer cut movement. That's not going to stop fans from pushing for it though, as they always do. Ray Fisher tweeted out a Release the Ayer cut hashtag, I think, the day this article came out. He started that going, as did many others. So listen over. Ray Fisher has been a big general in the Release the Snyder Cut, Restore the Snyderverse army, and he will continue to do so. But, it looks like, Warner Brothers is not backing down. They do not want to continue this. So the fight's going to keep going. You talked about breaking down silos in the company. What does that mean for DC? Creators want to have franchises that are larger than life. But oftentimes you start working with a company, and that company has discrete divisions. So you become a film creator. You become a television creator, and never the twain shall meet. My role is to pull people together towards a vision that can make the whole more than the sum of the parts. One of the key aspects of that is having a long-range plan. These movies and TV series can take 2+ years to make. So if you're not planning out and bringing other people into the plan, that further accentuates the silos. It's having the plan and then it's having the strategy where all of the various businesses work in harmony to create the plan. It seems logical, but it's very rarely done well. One of the things that I said to the group early was never to let your fans see your org chart. And boy, could the fans see our org chart in 2019. A plan! She mentions a plan. Thank goodness. I hope she means it, and I hope it's a good one. Because that's what DC's been missing a lot of recently in the movies. They've had a good plan on the CW, but they really need one for the movies, and they need to execute it. So far, the only real connected movie plan has been, Zack Snyder's stuff. But they have to build a good alternative if they want people to be on board with whatever they're building that's not the Snyderverse, right? And hopefully she understands that and she means this and they're going to do it. Again, I think the Flash movie is going to be a big part of that. Because the Flash movie is going to be kind of a resetting of the status quo for DC movies. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Ray Fisher has accused Warner Brothers executives, especially of Walter Hamada recently, of racially based behavior and of trying to impede an investigation into alleged misconduct on the set of Justice League. Did your investigation corroborate any of his claims of racism on the part of your employees? No. Our investigator, Judge Catherine Forrest, has issued statements specifically about DC Films president Walter Hamada, saying that there was no evidence of interference by Walter in the investigation. She said that the cuts made in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League were not racially motivated. We took it very seriously. So we hired one of the top investigators out there and gave her a tremendous amount of leeway. So yeah, this is the start of her really throwing shade at Ray Fisher's claims and throwing him under the bus. And I think that even if, a lot of bad stuff happened on that set, I personally did feel that Ray Fisher was being a bit too aggressive on Twitter when he was attacking people, saying this person's a piece of crap, that person's a piece of crap. I think if Ray Fisher had been, a bit less severe in his criticism of them, he would still be have a job as Cyborg. And I think that's a big reason. I think the Ray Fisher element of the drama is another reason why the Warner Brothers executives want to leave all that behind. I mean, Ray Fisher is basically trying to destroy Warner Brothers executives like Walter Hamada, Toby Emmerich. So they can't continue working with someone who's basically trying to wipe them off the face of the earth, right? He's talking about accountability over entertainment, and even if he really wants to fight for justice, his fight for justice involves getting rid of people who currently work at Warner Brothers, and they can't have that, which is why they got rid of him, and why I think they want to leave the Snyder Cut fans behind, because Ray Fisher's a part of that, and he stokes those flames. So, I do think that, he has helped them decide to leave him and all this behind. Ray Fisher has previously stated that because of a non-disclosure agreement, he can't share specifics about the abusive behavior he endured on the set of Justice League. Is there an NDA that would prevent him from publicly sharing all the details of what transpired on Justice League? Not that I know of, no. And then the writer says here, editor's note, a spokesperson for Fisher responded to Variety's request for comment with the following statement. Mr. Fisher is no longer under NDA and will comment further when appropriate to do so. So here I think she straight up calls him a liar. She says he's not under an NDA that she knows of, but he's saying, with this response, I am under an NDA. So, they're not dancing around it. They're basically saying, he's lying about some things here. So this isn't over. I think that Ray Fisher's going to continue doing what he's been doing with... He's already started, on Monday, a series of tweets basically throwing shade at this. I'm not going to go into those because he didn't really say anything he hasn't already said before. A lot of this stuff, you've heard... If you've heard what Ray Fisher said in the past, you heard what he said last night. It's kind of the same thing. But I think he's just going to continue tweeting things and leaking things, giving more interviews to places that will listen to him, just talking more about the allegations. Like when he said that Joss Whedon was cutting or changing people's skin color based on their complexions, something that he and Warner Brothers have denied, two sides to the story. But Ray Fisher's going to keep saying stuff like that. I think he's probably going to release more details about horrible things that transpired on set at the hands of Joss Whedon. We'll see if that works. I don't know if he's going to convert anyone who wasn't already on his side. A lot of the people have already made their minds up about the situation and about how they hate Joss Whedon. So I don't really know if... Ray Fisher is going to do anything but beat a dead horse. It's like if he talks more about, how terrible Joss Whedon was to him or other people... The people who are going to say, yeah, Joss Whedon sucks, are the people who already think Joss Whedon sucks. So we'll see. We'll see if he's able to succeed in getting rid of Walter Hamada and Toby Emmerich like he wants. Walter Hamada has been on the receiving end of a lot of fan criticism. What was his involvement in the production of Justice League? Walter had nothing to do with Justice League. He was not running DC Films in 2017 when Justice League was completed and released. He wasn't put in charge of DC Films until the following year. About a year ago, Walter, Toby Emmerich, me, Bob Greenblatt, Kevin Riley, and Sarah Aubrey sat with Zack and greenlit the Snyder Cut. That cut includes Ray Fisher's entire story as Cyborg, which is something that he had been disappointed had been cut from the Justice League movie 3 years ago. Perhaps we've lost the plot a little bit, which is that Toby and Walter were part of the green lighting that allowed Zack's vision to come to life, which includes sharing the full story about Ray's character. There really was nothing that Walter did against Ray. In fact, he offered him a role in the Flash movie. Walter was promoted recently. I am fully supportive of Toby and Walter and their visions. I truly believe they are great executives. Walter happens to be a person of color, so he knows what that feels like. He is bringing in diverse voices at an accelerated pace, more than anyone has in the past. So, this is more public vocal support of Walter Hamada, not of Ray Fisher. I'm not surprised. Warner Media already released a statement saying they stick by Walter Hamada. They didn't say I stand with Ray Fisher. They basically said I stand with Walter Hamada in the past. They're saying that again. The challenge is going to be on, Toby and Walter and Ann and all these people to create, some DC movies that get people as motivated as Zack Snyder's DC movies, passionate or more so. The onus is on, and I'm sure they know the onus is on them to do that. You talked about enlisting a broad range of voices when it comes to charting the future of DC. Is there one person calling the shots? The connective tissue in the middle is Jim Lee, who oversees DC Comics. Jim lives and breathes the canon of DC, and he works with all of the divisions to make sure the storylines are true to the canon. He helps them come up with ideas for new storylines. Jim is very much in the middle of everything, but the group together helps spur on new ideas. But there's not one person calling the shots, because I want all the voices in the room to offer their expertise and knowledge of their formats. So, there is not, as a lot of us expected, there's not one person in charge, one guiding hand. It's more of a committee, with her being, I think, a powerful voice, maybe the leading voice at this point, her and Jason Kilar. But there's no one comic book fan in charge. It seems like Jim Lee is a part of a committee, and he's the comic book representative. And, he's someone they will, ask questions or try to give them guiding hands. But I don't know if they necessarily have to do what Jim Lee tells them. He just gives recommendations. And I'm sure they do listen to him, or will, a lot of times, but I don't know if they have to. I'm reading a lot into all that, the relationship between all these people. But You know, there doesn't appear to be, they don't seem to want, like a lot of people were saying, a Kevin Feige to run DC. But, we'll see. We'll see if this approach works. I mean, we haven't really seen yet what Walter Hamada, Ann Sarnoff, etc. have got. They haven't put all their cards on the table yet. Let's see how the Matt Reeves Batman movie is. Let's see how Black Adam is, Aquaman 2, the Flash movie, etc., Shazam 2. We're going to see what their cards are very soon. Well, eventually, like next year. But, as always, this isn't over. The Restore the Snyderverse movement has been mobilized as of yesterday, right? They were high. They were thinking, the Snyder Cut was very successful, and it was. Warner Brothers hasn't released the numbers, or AT&T, but I'm certain, positive that it did some really good streaming numbers and will continue to do so. But, they're trying to bury it. And, that has mobilized people, Zack Snyder fans, Ray Fisher stands. We have to, force Warner Brothers to continue the Snyderverse. So we'll see. We'll see who wins. I do not think that Warner Brothers and Warner Media should be underestimated, though. I know the fans are always going to say, we'll be so strong and powerful online, we'll force them. But, it doesn't look like they're forcing them to do much of anything right now. The studio is striking back. But we'll see how this develops. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.